Welcome to Staples.
Staples Guy. I've resolved to save my office money in 2017.
Well, during Staples' January printing event, you save big when you buy one HP ink and get the second 40% off.
Oh, that kind of savings will impress the boss. Maybe this year he'll stop calling me New Guy Nick.
Well, there are worse nicknames.
I've worked there 6 years, and my name's Doug.
Resolve to save during Staples' January printing event. Buy one HP ink and get the second 40% off. Staples, make more happen.
Ends 1/14/17. See store staples.com for details. Restrictions may apply.
Googled it and I found it.
Hey, what's up, players? This is Teddy Long. Hey, this is Nick Goldberg, a.k.a. Magnus.
This is Michael Tarver, a.k.a. Monster Tarver.
This is Tito Santana. This is Donovan Dijak from Ring of Honor.
This is Eric Young.
We're on the air.
Hey, everybody, this is Anthony Corelli. You are listening to the one and only Main Event Madness.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. Are you ready? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah! Woo! And now, coming live from blogtalkradio.com and presented by wrestling-news.net, it's Main Event Madness. Madness Unleashed. You can chat with us during the show using the hashtag MEM Live on Twitter or Facebook.com/Main Event Madness. And now, here are your hosts for tonight's show, John Curry, Mark Madison, and Mike Holland.
I can't let loose sometimes. I can't face it. They say I'm gonna lose my mind. Spend all day long, the same old song. Meet my demons and I'm by the crossroads. I can't wait it. And I don't give a fuck if you call me a rebel.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Main Event Madness Radio, October 13th edition of the broadcast. We thank you guys for taking time out of your night to come hang out with us, or whenever you guys listen. If you listen on demand, we thank you for taking the time to hear what we've got to say and hear our opinions. We really appreciate that. I am joined tonight. We're waiting on one, but at the moment, I am joined by one of my co-hosts that you can hear with me each and every week. He is a writer for TGIWrestling.net and a man with probably one of the best alcohol tolerances I've ever met. He's the one and only, the incomparable Mike Holland.
Thank you, John. That was actually I appreciate that intro very much.
Yeah, I'll have shit for Evan when he comes on tonight.
I used it all up. Sorry.
So, I gotta do this right off the top. I love that last week, all of the sound effects and everything wanted to work on Blog Talk. Literally haven't used my computer since. Do you think it wants to work today?
Unlikely.
That would be correct. Good thing I have sounds backed up, you know. But
Absolutely.
Before I continue my little temper tantrum, we do have a pretty stacked show. Awaiting confirmation if we're going to be joined by Evan Ginzburg tonight. But in the meantime, if you don't have your popcorn ready, just last week when it seemed like everything was peachy keen in Impact Wrestling Land, Vindictive bitch strikes again. Yes, I'm talking about Dixie Carter. We're going to talk about that in just a moment, including everybody's favorite word, lawsuits. So this should be a fun one. That's why I'm saying get your popcorn ready, folks. Lawsuit against Impact Wrestling, perhaps. Like I said, we'll talk about that in a minute. The biggest news coming out of Monday Night Raw, one of two big stories I feel like coming out of Monday Night Raw is Goldberg, and we'll talk about that also. Hell in a Cell is making history, and I'm going to give my thoughts in the second half, at the bottom of the hour, of why the brand split has ruined one of the greatest intercontinental title feuds of this century. Also, SmackDown versus Raw at Survivor Series, which means probably next year, 2K Sports will present SmackDown versus Raw 2018. And the Hardys have a very strange request. I don't know if you saw this. So, but before we get to the rest of those guys, if you want to chat with us or connect with us during the show, use the hashtag MEM Live on Twitter, and you guys can also hit us up Facebook.com/Main Event Madness. So yeah, right off the top, get your popcorn ready. The documents are sealed. Not too many people know what's going on right now. Billy Corgan, this is from wrestling-news.net. Billy Corgan has filed a lawsuit against TNA Impact Wrestling, its parent company, Impact Ventures. Dixie Carter, her husband, the CFO of Impact Ventures, he filed this yesterday in a court in Nashville, Tennessee. The documents, a temporary restraining order, based on those documents, a temporary restraining order was approved, and Corgan filed a bond to support it today. While hearing has been set for temporary injunction on Thursday next week. The court documents also reveal that Corgan has requested a 6-person jury to decide the case, and the filings for the lawsuit have been sealed until further notice. But that's not all. Because what's one good summer blockbuster without a sequel? Let's see. In an update, besides Billy Corgan, audience of TNA's former production company, Audience of One Productions, filed a lawsuit on September 27th in Virginia against TNA's parent company, Impact Ventures, TNA's minority owner, Aerolux, TNA Wrestling's CFO, shocker, and one of the Harris brothers from Aerolux, seeking $223,000 plus interest and post-judgment costs for breach of contract, fraudulent inducement on the behalf of Harris and Broadhead, who is the CFO of Impact, for violating Virginia code. I'm not quite sure what that means. I'm not a lawyer, but the report notes that the lawsuit states TNA began conversations with Audience of One Productions in 2015 about a possible long-term multi-event production services agreement, pursuant to which Audience of One would provide a variety of production services for live TNA wrestling events, including audio, visual, and broadcasting work, lighting, set, construction, and breakdown, as well as retention and payment of audience, quote-unquote, wranglers, the personnel who would patrol the crowd and try to engage the audience members with the event. Among other things, among other things, and before and during the negotiation between the two companies, TNA Wrestling's production was overseen by Ron Harris and Don Harris, and upon information and belief, the Harris brothers were not providing sufficiently high-quality production work to TNA, despite their industry experience. One of the reasons TNA Wrestling initially sought a long-term relationship with Audience of One was due to the CFO's dissatisfaction with production works from the Harris brothers. Damn, that's a long thing. So long story short, people fucking up. I wish I could be a little bit more professional saying that, but that's pretty much more or less. Yeah, people fucking up. So your thoughts on Impact being sued twice, as if they have the money to pay for one lawsuit?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought when you shared this with me, because I had not heard this today until recently, but when I heard it, I said, this sounds like a wrestling storyline. No, it's so bizarre that it sounds like something that they would come up with in wrestling that would, supposed to be realistic in some way.
Not that TNA's given us good storylines to argue that point.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then my second thought is, like you're saying, I don't, look, we've said many times, we talked about it last week. TNA in its current form is, a nightmare. And it has nothing, I should say it has nothing to do with talent, but their issues have very little to do with talent. And it has everything to do with the way the company's been run. And, I find it interesting that amongst all of this, and all of this back and forth and what's going to happen and are they going to be bought out and, Dixie seems to be dragging her feet. What a shock, knowing that the writing is on the wall and sooner or later something's going to come of it. But the interesting thing to me is that my argument against TNA has always been that they have followed in the footsteps of WWE. And I think that Dixie kind of saw what Vince was doing, and unlike what WWE and WCW did when they were, battling each other, they had a lot of the same talent. They had a lot of the same storylines. It's wrestling. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science, as they say. But she has chosen to, in my mind, to her, complete and utter lack of experience in the business. That's the difference between her and these other folks that, have been in the business before. She feels that to be successful, she just sort of surrounds herself with people that have succeeded before, and that's going to do it for her. And the truth is that the only thing that's been mildly interesting about TNA of late has been what the Hardys are doing. And, ironically, of course, the Hardys wrestled in WWE. But what they're doing right now has absolutely nothing to do with anything that they did while in the WWE. It's original. It's bizarre. I have told you before, John, it's not my cup of tea in terms of, overall. But I appreciate that they're doing it because it's getting eyeballs on the product. And so that ultimately, to me, is the failure of TNA. Is, there's going to be more lawsuits because people haven't been paid. The company's been run extremely poorly, and this is no secret. And it's just ugly. And I feel bad for people that are huge fans of TNA because, I can't confess to be one. I do watch their product on occasion. As somebody that has opinions on wrestling, I think it's, important that you watch the competition. So I wish them no ill will, and I hope that from the ashes of this comes something good. But right now, it's awful. And I just, I feel really bad, as I've mentioned on the show before. I feel bad for a lot of the people that work for that company that I really, really admire and respect because they got sold a bill of goods that, was not legitimate. And it's just further proof that, you need to know what you're doing. If you can't play like you're going to run a wrestling company. You actually have to be able to do it. You're dealing with people's lives, and you know how I feel about things. So I think it's unfortunate. I'd be surprised and shocked to hell if anybody's a dime in any kind of lawsuit with TNA. But hopefully, the ultimate result is that they just can move on from this because it really has been in every way possible a debacle.
It's just sad. It's sad that a company that had all of the potential in the world to be the next WCW, I mean, at least theoretically, without the catastrophic demise.
Yeah.
And they floundered it. But I think you just look at this whole situation, there is one person who looks like a complete shitbag in this entire thing. And that's Dixie Carter. Because she went from toying with people's lives to now toying with people's lives and thinking somehow she's entitled to get money off of this.
Yep.
And you don't really get money just because you decided to play franchise mode with a real company.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree, and I think that again, I mean, my opinions of her aside. Obviously, I don't work for her. I'm not privy to how that is, but I can surely say that we know on the record that she has been duplicitous at best with her talent. That she has told them one thing while knowing that the opposite was true.
And
when it comes
go ahead.
to finances, you can't do that. I mean, like I said, this is people's livelihoods. I'm not saying that Vince McMahon hasn't told a lie, that any of the people that are in these positions, aren't going to say something for the public record. But I mean, in my opinion, the respect for her in that locker room is below zero, and she is trying to find a golden parachute to escape, the 747 that is due to crash any minute now. And it's a shame. Just take your hit, get out of the business, and leave it to people that know what they're doing.
Definitely. And it's actually, before I get to that thought, so we're going to have a talk, Mike. We're going to have a talk. Because somebody played hooky.
What? Oh, my.
Kind of hooky. He was tardy this evening.
Just another mark on the record is all I can say.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now being joined by our other co-host that you can hear with me each and every week. He's a writer, columnist for TGRWrestling.net, among a slew. There are way too many goddamn websites that he writes for that I can't mention them all in one day. Basically, if you guys like the Wrestle News Hub on Facebook, you'll be able to check out all his writings. The one and only, the tardy, Mark Madison.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm just like, I should be doing something right now.
It's like today's Wednesday, right? Yeah, we're good. All right, let's go put on the TV. Son of a bitch was supposed to do the show.
The thing was, and I'm like, we were chatting like an hour ago. So I'm like, I should have been calling. We should have been talking by now. I am so sorry, guys.
He has a young daughter. We're gonna give him a bye.
Thanks. And I'm actually I'm pulling my Macaulay Culkin, and I'm home alone right now. So she's sleeping, and I was just doing work, and then just lost track of time. So
you son of a bitch! You'll never work on this website again.
Unbelievable, Madison. Unbelievable.
I'm so sorry.
You're lucky you're buying me poutine when I come up next month.
Damn right. Damn right.
And you can't be upset with a Canadian. It's just not possible.
They say sorry more than anybody. I'm really sorry, eh? I'm really sorry about this, eh?
Boot and house and out. Those are words.
Don't ever let it happen again.
Again.
Very nice.
Don't ever let it happen again.
God, just for that.
We just lost all of our Canadian listeners. They're like, who the fuck is this motherfucker sitting here making fun of Canadians?
Just for that, you made the list.
You know what? Mike, I got to do it.
Go ahead, do it.
I got to give it to him. I'm going to give him what he wants.
Go ahead.
I'm going to give him what he needs. I'm going to give him the gift of curry.
Very nice.
Drink it in, man.
It seems like I was, despite all my rage, I was still just a rat in a cage, and I listened in on some of that conversation.
Is that a Smashing Pumpkins reference?
Oh, well, yes. And today is the greatest day he's ever heard. So very nice.
Let's see. Will this work? It's not working. Yeah, I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm like, I love that I literally haven't touched my computer since we went off the air last week, and everything wanted to work on Blog Talk Radio. And do you think that's, huh?
You sound crystal clear, man.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
You're sucking up.
That's the gift of curry right there.
But no. So I haven't touched the computer since we went off the air last week, and everything worked fine on Blog Talk. Do you think that's the case this week? No.
Uh-oh.
That's why I have sound effects backed up. That's why the sound effects are backed up. But nonetheless, we are talking about the lovely. No, still doesn't want to work. Okay. The lovely, and I use that word extremely loosely, bitchy Carter. I mean, Dixie Carter.
So I didn't read the entire restraining order. Or
Somebody done fucked up.
Yeah. Maybe you guys can give me the details surrounding that, per se?
It's available on wrestling-news. No, it's a long thing. I'll give you Corgan's. He filed a lawsuit against Impact Wrestling, Impact Ventures, Dixie Carter, her husband, and the CFO, Dean Broadhead. That's a horrible name. It's a horrible name.
It is. It sounds like a wrestling name.
It sounds like a porn name.
It's like something Vince would give to a.
Sounds like Ron Jeremy's like freaking bouncer.
I'm gonna call you Broadhead.
The report notes that based on documents, a temporary restraining order was approved and Corgan filed a bond to support it today, while a hearing has been set for a temporary injunction next Thursday. While the court documents also reveal Corgan has requested a 6-person jury to decide the case, and the filings for the lawsuit have been sealed until further notice.
Yikes.
And basically, there's another one, Audience of One Productions. Basically, Impact fucked up, and we're working with the Harris brothers instead of them. I mean, am I getting the gist of that right, Mike?
Yeah, I would say that's correct.
So they're suing for like $225,000 plus interest plus the private jet. At least it might as well be.
Wow.
The moral of the story is there ain't enough popcorn in the world, but get it ready. Because just when we all thought this was going to be some happy-go-lucky little transition, oh no. But we were talking about, there's one person that is responsible for the shape that the company's in and for every single solitary situation going on involving that company, and it's Dixie Carter. Because she's somebody who actually had a lot of talent on her side when she first took over. A lot of people thought, you know what, she is the polar opposite of Vince McMahon. This is great. 10 years later, she is the polar opposite of Vince McMahon, and that's horrible. Because unlike Vince McMahon, she has no idea how to run a fucking company. So
I would always think, maybe I'm wrong and you guys can correct me, but if you're not securing a major television deal, and I think that's unfortunately been some of Jeff Jarrett's challenges in trying to secure something for GFW, and I'm not really sure its status because I really haven't heard very much. But if a company can't secure a television network, at least Sinclair Broadcasting aspires to do that. But they've always they're the little engine that could, but they don't try to be more than what they are. Whereas I think TNA wanted to, and then once Spike fell through, that really affected viewership. And that was their really, if you're not broadcasting across North America, you're not getting it out there, and that's the biggest kicker with all of them. I mean, WWE continues to grow; they're traveling the world, but TNA having like isolated dates in the UK and parts of the US, they don't come north of the border either. And have
they ever?
TNA?
Yeah.
I can't think. WCW did, but TNA, no. I don't think I ever.
I think it might have been like a house show once.
Maybe.
And I'm like trying to jog my memory and think, and I don't even think that.
Yeah. So if you're not securing those types of deals from a financial standpoint, and you're not building your company exponentially like you want to, TNA has had, and I always still think that I still kind of think of them as NWA TNA, and that company that was airing years ago, which, unless you really had access to it, they had some incredible talent, just a really young Christopher Daniels and a really young AJ Styles, and the ideas were flowing, and it just didn't turn out the way it could have because too many cooks were in the kitchen spoiling the pot. So we can say that Dixie is it, but Dixie, with her decision making, really, it's hard to argue that the people that she put in really broke down what could have been great. You know, we talk about the WWE being a monopoly. Gosh, they didn't have to do anything. They just sat back and had to watch a company fall apart. I mean, it's almost like you were talking, John, there's not enough popcorn in the world to see something unfold, and that's what we're all watching. It's like a self-implosion. It's sad because there's such talented men and women there. What now? What's next?
And I love that WWE was getting so much shit for wanting to buy the tape library. No, because at the rate that... Oh, well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, if that's legitimate, I mean, as we said at the time, there's been a lot of back and forth about that. So I have no doubt, as we talked about last week, I have no doubt that if the assets are on the table and you have a chance to secure footage of guys that wrestle for your promotion, you would be interested in doing that for pennies on the dollar. I mean, we know that Vince is, always up for that. But I would also say, just a couple small points. Of course, again, they don't tell us what this is for. I find it interesting that Dixie's husband is named in the suit. And so it would make you wonder if there wasn't some kind of, again, normally a restraining order indicates some kind of physical problem. So perhaps you could speculate that there was some kind of issue with Dixie's husband and Billy Corgan. I mean, for the physical element, again, we don't know. We won't know until that information is made available. But at the end of the day, just to follow up on Mark's point, look, I have felt like Ring of Honor has been the number 2 promotion in my mind for quite a while. If we're going to talk about in terms of upswing and marketability and people getting excited about it and looking at the product and the quality level. And I agree with you have to have national exposure. And there's some interesting things on that front too, with how, it made behoove WWE with their network to start trying to get other people involved as additional content. There was an interesting thing put out by the Wrestling Observer that was talking about, how they may be adding tiered, payment, and part of that, like UFC, would be bringing other promotions on board to allow access to their content because they get a platform that they would never have. And WWE gets independent wrestling fans to say, maybe I'll buy that network after all because now I can watch all of these other promotions. So there actually may be, even in adding to Monopoly, a positive out of this. But I would just summarize by saying, in my opinion, and that's what I'm here for, right? It's the opinion.
Exactly.
I don't see any. I don't see any scenario where TNA could ever be the number 1 promotion in anything as long as Dixie is in charge of it, because they could have no competition and still lose. That's how inept and moronic they are, and that's just the truth. Again, forget about whether you like Billy Corgan or not. TNA is going to have major problems with just even having lawsuits to have to contend with. So, to Mark's point, it doesn't end well. And as a wrestling fan, it's disappointing because, you always want to have options. But the truth is, she's getting exactly what she deserves because she has no business running a wrestling company. It's a joke.
So here's the deal. I'm going to switch gears here because I think we're going to take a commercial break. And when we come back, I have some breaking news for NXT. I'm presuming TakeOver Canada, TakeOver Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen this.
Well, I'm disappointed with what could have been a potential team that's in there. This recently been released, but we'll probably
that is not the breaking news that I'm talking about.
Well, it's not so much breaking; it was more disappointing because I think it broke yesterday.
That's true.
Else. Okay.
Yes, I got this. This one's going to be a bit exciting. So we're going to take a 30-second timeout, and when we come back, I want to get Mark's reaction. Well, both reaction, but Mark's more so because he's going to be there with me. No offense, Mike. He's like, I don't want to fucking be there. You think I want to go up to Canada? No, I'm kidding. But
We throw beer at children and
and then say sorry about 715 times.
as we heave it from the second mezzanine. It's okay.
Heave ho! Heave ho!
The Cleveland Indians won't mind coming tomorrow, or tomorrow night.
So, on that note, we're going to take a 30-second timeout. This is Main Event Madness, and we will be right back right after these brief words.
Looking for Looking for wrestling news, missed a live event, and want the best results? Well, look no further. Wrestling-news.net is the place to go for all of the pro wrestling news and results your heart desires. With coverage of the WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, Ring of Honor, Global Force Wrestling, Independence, and more. Also, is your favorite promotion overseas? No problem either. Wayne Daly has results and news for promotions all over the world. Check them out today, wrestling-news.net.
Jail for me. Take my name through mud and I still come out clean. Get get let loose sometimes. I get wasted. They say I'm gonna lose my mind. Spend all day long the same old song. Meet my demons down by the crossroads. I get faded, and I don't give a fuck if you call me a rebel. Call me a rebel. Deal with cocaine, this ain't my first rodeo. Wash it down with whiskey, dressed in black from head to toe. You can stand against me, 'cause we all stand here guilty. Heaven and hilltop see, yeah, without a soul. I get faded, I get let loose sometimes. I get wasted.
All right, guys. This is Main Event Madness Radio. That is Rebel from the band Shallow Side. You guys can check their music out on iTunes and Spotify, or you guys can give them a like or follow on Facebook or Twitter at Shallow Side Band for both. That's, again, Rebel from the band Shallow Side. And if you guys like the song, like I said, iTunes and Spotify, call, text, tweet your local radio stations. Get the music out there. Help get the music out there, man. They're a great band, and they thank you to them for allowing us to use Rebel is the official theme song of Main Event Madness Radio. So, having said that, breaking news coming out of the NXT tapings right now. Asuka has a new opponent for NXT TakeOver Toronto. What a freaking time to be a wrestling fan. Asuka defending the NXT Women's Championship against the one, the only, after 6 years, returning to WWE, Mickie James. That's a major coup for WWE, because also with her appearing for NXT, odds are so is Magnus at some point.
That's outstanding.
That's going to be Mike. Can we convince you to come up here?
Well, you've already convinced me. It's certainly not a question of that. And by the way, NXT Takeover has the Toronto has a very. I'm very impressed with the logo. I think it's pretty cool.
I do like that logo a lot too.
Not that that's relevant to what you just said, but no, I mean that's a big deal, and it's better than I thought you were going to talk about how the NXT Twitter account put it up that it was really breaking news that Shinsuke was taking on Samoa Joe, and I was kind of like, that's breaking news. So you actually, stunned me with that one because I had not heard that. And I thought you were going to that. And I'm like, as I thought when they posted it, I was like, who didn't know that?
Mark found out about it like right after the commercial started. What? Was there something?
Breaking news, unless you haven't checked it already, showing up tonight, or has already shown up tonight at Full Sail University, is former Ring of Honor world champion Roderick Strong.
So the rumors were true.
Yes.
What a fucking time to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah,
So
really.
is he Austin Aries'
Yes.
surprise tag team partner?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a fucking time to be alive. Their tickets still available on StubHub, Mike.
I hadn't watched. Sorry, I'm going to disconnect for just a second because apparently William Regal has announced a replacement partner for Kota Ibushi.
It's TJ Perkins.
It is TJ Perkins. Okay, that's a great replacement.
Agreed.
Wow. Now to come back from that. So NXT TakeOver Toronto. So we are going to have the finals of the Dusty Classic. We have Shinsuke versus Joe 2 in what's most likely Samoa Joe's swan song from NXT.
One would think. Yeah.
Apparently, that's the talk right now, is that he's going to show up on Monday Night Raw. Are you going to Raw, Mark?
No, because I'm going to Survivor Series. I'm going to TakeOver. It's going to be a very expensive weekend. So
that it is.
Just trying to recover the losses because, and it's just a crazy couple of days too because it's Raw in Toronto on Monday, and I think they're in Ottawa on Tuesday for SmackDown. So, yeah.
There you go, Mark. Go drive over to Ottawa.
Yeah, just because.
Plus, he's gonna. God knows what the poutine bill will be by then. I mean, that in itself is gonna be big.
Listen, I'm not that greedy.
Is it? Well, my question for you guys is it too early to assume Samoa Joe is in the Royal Rumble? I mean, probably not, right? Like, you think that's
he's gonna be main roster. That's the talk anyway.
The question will be, really which brand? Because I'm not convinced that he's going to Raw.
I was more thinking he was going to go to SmackDown.
Well, I agree, and I think the reason for that, in my mind, is he might be the continuation of the Shane McMahon Brock Lesnar.
Could be. He could be Shane's hired gun.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean that in itself, they could do a lot of cool things with Samoa Joe. I will say, I mean, you guys are, and hopefully it's possible that I would too, but you guys are going to see. I mean, that's going to be a great card. There's no question about it, regardless of who's in the final of the Dusty Rhodes match and whatever else they add to the card. I mean, you guys, that's going to be a great show. But I will say, just, because of course I have to be the voice of negative, I would have appreciated, I think one minor quibble, and understand it's minor, that I have with the NXT takeovers, which, as I've said, many times have been better than the pay-per-views they've piggybacked or that have piggybacked from them, is they are repetitive in terms of the main event. And I'm curious to see if they'll do some kind of stipulation. I mean, look, if Samoa Joe is leaving, then you do a loser leaves NXT. I mean, I understand.
That's the talk.
Yeah, and if they do that, then, or, make it a triple threat, which it seems like they've done a ton of. I guess they can't add Bobby Roode to that match because he's already wrestling. But my point is, I would like to see a little something, extra, because I think that they have had similar, matches, main event, most of these. But at the end of the day, look, I'm never going to complain about those guys wrestling. And, as I said many times before, I would not be surprised in the slightest if the NXT card was superior to Survivor Series itself.
Wouldn't be the first time it happened to WrestleMania.
Exactly. And I think, even though Survivor Series had, the announcements, which we haven't talked about yet, which is exciting, I don't know that elimination matches are that exciting to watch as fans. I love Survivor Series because of the nostalgia of it. It's one of those events when I was growing up getting into wrestling that was really cool to kind of watch how they would do it and, how the tag teams would operate. But at the end of the day, as far as a concept, it may be a bit played out other than for traditionalists. So I think, again, you guys, that's going to be a solid show. And I would not be surprised if the buzz afterwards was that it was, superior. So,
well, the hard part about that is Survivor Series is going to be one hell of a show.
Sure.
There are 3 pending Survivor Series elimination matches, including a 10-person elimination match, which is just absurd. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So it's 5 teams against 5 teams.
That's going to be a really small card because you're going to put the entire SmackDown Live Women's Division in one match against the entire Raw SmackDown Live Women's Division. The entire SmackDown Live Tag Division against most of the Raw SmackDown, or Raw Smack, yeah, most of the Raw Tag Team Division. You're probably, Dean and AJ are rumored to be in the WWE title match, which pisses me off because there was all this talk about the Shield. And then, what else? You're not going to put if you have AJ out of that match, then you're going to probably have Owens in the match. Because I can't imagine they're going to have, without Cena being there, you're not going to have one of the world champions representing the brand.
Yeah.
Plus, you're going to have Goldberg versus Lesnar, which that unfortunately is going to be the main event.
I guess we're supposed to be excited about something, but is this like...
If this was 2009, 5 years later, not 12? Okay.
Yeah.
But it's like...
How old is Phil right now?
49.
He's old.
49-year-old Goldberg versus a 38-year-old Brock Lesnar.
Well, did you see? Did you guys see? I was under the impression, and I don't know if this is obviously it's not official because they haven't said who's doing what, but I had heard that the plan was going to be that guys were going to wrestle a regular match and also participate in the Survivor Series matches.
That's a little
So
overkill.
you would have some wrestlers wrestling more than once.
That's a little overkill. Depending on who it is.
Well, I think to your point, if they're doing something like a bragging rights, with that, certainly the top match. I think your point is well taken. There's enough tag teams and there's enough of the women wrestlers so they could really throw everybody in the division and have a match out of it, including each brand's respective champions. So I don't know that they would, of course, defend every belt, but I would think in the case of if they're going to do like a bragging rights type thing with each, promotion's champion and then their top guys, you wouldn't want to just have them doing that and not be able to, but it'll be interesting because I agree with you. The build for the Goldberg Lesnar, that's going to be the match that, there's clearly going to be building around. And I find that kind of interesting too, because to your point, John, it's a great time to be wrestling. They've never had more talent, but they're building around 2, old guys because of the video game. At the end of the day, and I'm not trying to oversimplify because certainly there's some interest in the match, but I think it remains to be seen just how many people were on the edge of their seat waiting for Goldberg to return to the WWE.
Is anybody else afraid that Goldberg's going to get booed like Batista?
Oh, I think Toronto will boo the hell out of him.
Yeah.
Mark, you would know better than me, but I think, Toronto was not very kind to Goldberg last time he was there, as I recall.
No, they weren't.
Which pay-per-view was that? Survivor Series? Or SummerSlam, rather?
I thought it was Backlash.
Yeah.
and it's been a while since they came back. I think the last pay-per-view we've had here was Unforgiven, and that was 2008. So it's been a very long time. So I look back, it's like so I think it was Hal McAllen, PGR Wrestling, who asked me, he's like, can you see the WWE coming for another WrestleMania? I'm like, not with how they're shooting with their venues. There's no way. Like right now, even BMO Field, which is where the Major League Soccer team plays, they're going to have Toronto Maple Leafs and the Detroit Red Wings play there. They might get 60,000, maybe, and that's an open field concept. But if they're looking for 80,000, like these football stadiums, there's no way.
And the bad thing about it, too, is if they go to a smaller arena, the ticket prices are going to be outrageously stupid.
Yeah.
That's like, for me and for a lot of people, especially now that I'm getting older, one of my bucket list things would have been front row WrestleMania Madison Square Garden. That's literally never going to happen ever again.
Yeah.
If it does, I'll be shocked. And tickets are literally going to be like 15 times what they are right now.
Well, there's a school of thought that, this whole thing is less important than it used to be due to the fact that, with the network, the WWE is not reliant on, pay-per-view buy rates to determine what they're going to do. So where it used to be that you would really have to, bring in major headliners to sell the show, now it's kind of like, well, if you're buying the network, you're going to be watching it anyway. So, we haven't talked about it yet, and I know, there may not be that much to talk about other than the as you said, the Intercontinental thing. But I feel like No Mercy is a blueprint for how a WWE pay-per-view is now, which is to say, it's not bad, it's not great, it has some good moments, and the rest is marginal. And I certainly think Survivor Series is better than that because it's considered to be one of the eminent events, and they have all this other stuff going on with it. But it may be a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy for WWE. I mean, how good, we talked about this, the three of us talked about this, when it was Shane McMahon and The Undertaker. And no offense to Goldberg and Lesnar, who certainly are, better conditioned athletes than those two guys. But we said, the match is going to be about the spectacle. It's going to be about what it means to wrestling more than it really is if you're going to expect it to be a great match. Because let's face it, Goldberg didn't have great matches when he was in his prime. If you want to look at it as a great match, something that, certainly that Evan would say, this is a great match. He came out, he did his thing, and he sold a lot of tickets. But it was never a WWE thing. And I feel like, this is sort of their attempt to kind of add some sexiness to this, event, and good for them. I mean, it's definitely one of those things that's going to get people talking. But I think if you're sitting there saying, boy, the best thing about Survivor Series is going to be when I get to watch Goldberg wrestle Brock Lesnar, other than the cameras cutting out for the first moment when those two guys are staring each other down, I highly doubt it.
The only thing I'm excited for is to actually see Goldberg.
And that's fair, absolutely.
Because I didn't watch wrestling when Goldberg was in WCW and when Goldberg was in WWE. I was like 6, 7, 8 years old. I was about 8, 9 years old when Goldberg left like really early too, didn't he?
Yes, well, he did. Yeah, he did. He had the injury.
And he never came back, for like the last few months WCW was there that I remember.
Well, he did come back from that injury, but he was trying to come back after losing steam after his undefeated streak was just torn out, and it was stupidity. He caused himself the injury. Nobody else said it himself.
And how good would that have angle been with the finger poke of doom if he didn't get himself hurt?
That's why you don't let Kevin Nash book a show.
No, there was like a whole angle to that. I got to get my buddy Matt on here, and he'll tell you, because he remembered either reading something or hearing something a while back, like there was actually going to be a reason for it and a whole big angle with it. But when Goldberg went after either Bret Hart or somebody, he like smashed his hand in the window.
I think it was.
And he like tore a ligament in his hand, and he was out for a while. The injury Mark was talking about. So that put the whole kibosh on it. But I don't know. I'm excited for that. I do want to rant a little bit. Mark, how long do we have you?
You got me another 10, 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
I actually owe you 15 minutes, so I should probably. All things being equal.
So, Hell in a Cell.
On tonight?
I haven't heard from him.
Okay.
So, good timing. Let's see. Yes, he is.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea what's on his mind, but we will hear from him in about 45 minutes from now. So, and I will talk about another thing before Mark goes, because I know he wants to talk about that. Ziggler versus Miz. Just off the top of our heads, has there been a better Intercontinental title feud in this entire century so far? All 16 years of it? Because as much as I don't... What?
That we could get behind, stand behind, long-standing...
And want to be the main event. Like we did at No Mercy.
That's a really good question.
While you're thinking about that, I find it hilarious that Raw has the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and the one feud, not named Charlotte versus Sasha, that deserves to be in the Hell in a Cell is on SmackDown. And that's Miz versus Ziggler, because that deserves a Hell in a Cell match. Especially their promo they had on Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know,
did you guys hear? I thought it was interesting. I didn't tweet this at the time, and I confess that, so anyone could say, "Hey, maybe you came up with it after the fact." But I was definitely in the camp of having less of an issue with the match opening, No Mercy, than the fact that the Intercontinental title match did not close it, which made no sense. It really, I think, made the Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton match even less. Whatever you want to say, powerful, because of the emotion involved in that match. I mean, how you don't end the show. But it was interesting because they actually used that as, a focal point for Dolph in talking smack after the pay-per-view, which I thought was kind of cool. So, I'm always critical of the creative. And I think, like you said, Johnny, these guys have put it all on the line and gotten everybody invested in the belt in an awesome way. And so kudos to both of them. But I also think the company has been very smart in how they played this by adding all that realism. Like, I was openly cheering when I heard Dolph say on Talking Smack, which obviously is, scripted and everything else, "Hey, how did you not have us close the show?" And it was really cool because basically he said, as Intercontinental Champion, I don't want a new contract like Miz does. I want you to put us on at the end when we deserve it. And I was like, that's really smart marketing by WWE. So in addition to the fact that the match was great, and I agree with you 100%, I would love to see that in Hell in a Cell. I just think the way they booked it, beginning to end, has been impressive, particularly for the WWE, who's not known to always make those kind of decisions, shall I say nicely.
And it sucks because I think this feud's going to be over with before they get to another pay-per-view. Because I don't think this feud's going to still be going on. Do you guys think it'll still be going on at Survivor Series?
I don't know. I mean, how much else in Dolph's feud are they gonna try and bring Chavo Guerrero back? I don't know.
Kerwin White.
Right now, I'm joking because of
the only one who would make sense to bring back is Vicky.
Possibly.
Or Chavo, because they're
because of the Kerwin White connection, right?
But even that, I don't think they would, because Chavo's part of that lawsuit.
Well, he's part of.
He's part of the concussion lawsuit.
Ouch. Okay.
You know what would be hilarious? Is if they brought
his brother in.
Yes, that or AJ
Riley, who was in NXT and didn't make it to the main roster.
or
My face.
Sorry?
That was. I thought you said Alex Riley, and I always remember that face to my face. That was my favorite.
song that he did not, the song he didn't deserve.
Yes. By the way, John, for the record, and I don't want to speak for Mark, of course, but I think the fact that neither of us have been able to refute what you said is probably an indication that you are correct in your question about whether they are the best. I mean, I think back to when the Intercontinental title really meant something and the caliber of guys that wrestled. They weren't mid-carders. I mean, they were main eventers, and the best Intercontinental Championship matches have been guys who, I'm not going to say they, at the end of the day, British Bulldog is a mid-carder, Razor Ramon, Mr. Perfect. I mean, these are guys who definitely were not at the top of the card all the time, but they were solid steps right there. And you got to say the same for these two guys. I mean, they put on a clinic. They were the best guys on the roster. And I have to say, in the case of Dolph, I'm not surprised. But as other people have said, and I have to concur with them, the work of The Miz in 2016 has been second to none, and to a point where I never thought I'd say it. He is, close to an MVP for the WWE right now with the work that he has done to make that belt hugely relevant in a way that I didn't necessarily know was possible.
John, Mike, you guys have to do me a favor. Pick Evan's brain, because if there's somebody that has been quite critical of The Miz and his work, his body of work, and justly so, has been of The Miz. Sure. But what has he thought of him at this particular venture, this particular time, and the matches he's been a part of, safe or otherwise, with Dolph Ziggler?
Oh, I'll ask him.
Yeah, it'd be interesting if he's going to give the devil his due, or if he's just going to continue to say no. There's nothing memorable about him, or give complete kudos to Dolph for being even remotely entertaining. Because really, it takes two to tango, right? So you can't just always have somebody leading and somebody else not being a part of that dance. And
who would have thought, of all the people that have held the Intercontinental title in the last few years, the one to make it relevant again and important was The Miz.
Exactly. Yep.
But Miz for two-time Money in the Bank, anybody?
That's fine with me.
Now, here's a question I have. We were talking about the Royal Rumble before. Does anybody believe when Cena comes back he's not going to, or he's going to go to Raw? So I kind of feel like he will.
Cena?
Yeah. I don't think Cena's going.
Not unless Nikki is going to, John.
That's not that hard. But no, I don't know. I just got the feeling Cena won't go back to SmackDown. Cena will be back on Raw. Although they're going to have Finn Balor back, so they don't really need Cena.
Well, not to mention the fact that if you believe in history repeating itself, in honor of Evan and giving us the historical perspective, no one cares if people switch brands. I just want to throw that out there, and I'm just going to say it again. No one cares.
As long as it's done good.
I'm not saying that in the moment you might not be like, oh, that's cool, but for ratings purposes, for attendance purposes, I mean, John Cena definitely sells tickets. So if they're looking, but again, I think that's kind of why he went to SmackDown, because I think that they went, we're going to load up Raw, so we got to have John Cena on SmackDown so that we can continue to sell tickets. So I don't think he's going to Raw. I think he's going right back to feud with whoever. They're already setting it up, but obviously, he's going to win the next championship. It's just a matter of when, but I'm just saying, on a personal level and on a business level, no one, I do not think there's evidence anywhere, certainly in WWE doing it, that anyone gives a flying toss about what
You're allowed to swear.
these guys are on. Yeah, don't think.
You're allowed to swear. We swear. I'm just saying, if you want to.
I don't know. I like to convey my emotions using a litany of colorful language.
A plethora.
Word.
A plethora.
Yeah.
A whole bunch.
A lot. Some gnarly vocabulary going on here.
Well, you dropped the word hurl earlier, and it made me think of Wayne's World. So I don't know. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that use.
No, speaking of hurl, that's.
Think about that. When you said that, I was like, oh yeah, that's perfect.
Speaking of hurl, that's what we're going to want to do for the amount of shilling that's about to go on right now. No, I'm just kidding. So not only is he late, but now we let him shill his shit. God, I guess I am a nice guy.
You are, but you know what? There is no I in team. There is a me if you rearrange the letters liberally, but there is an us. I guess if you throw in other vowels and consonants. Anyway, part of being part of Main Event Madness is also being a part of family and friends, and really two M's and a J. We go together like peanut butter and jelly. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking, but it sounded
womp,
in my head.
womp.
I should have kept it there. Wow. Should have kept it there.
Womp womp.
So I made my return to the richest, and I just released something very Halloween-y related. 15 most creepy and haunting characters. Everything from, the predictable to maybe guys you didn't think of as being as dark and creepy as they are. In that you can find on my personal Facebook page, but I'll also be able to have that out there on the Russell News Hub along with on our Main Event Madness page. And I should have something up on Daily DDT on Ty Dillinger, and his time to rise is now. So I don't know what that means in his team with Bobby Roode, but really the opportunity for this long-time competitive Canadian, got to stand by him and hope that he's going to get that next push, that next level of success coming his way. So I have those couple of things. As always, Mike and I, or maybe I, help to promise that we will work on something at some point in this venture at some point. I really need to pull something together for TGR because I'm missing trying to flesh something out, and hopefully something at really these upcoming pay-per-views will help to inspire that and get it going. I think the shorter blogs have been more direct and to the point, but something a little more fleshed out is what I'd like to sink my teeth into. So sooner or later, you'll see me back. Although maybe I can start right now a hashtag, Mike, if I can petition to be part of the pay-per-view preview that John puts together. I'm throwing my name in the hat. If you'd like another pair of hands to help contribute, I'd be more than welcome to. Be more than welcome to. So I know your hands are all full with the group of you there too. So who knows? So anyways, that said, that's what I've got on tap. But I'm not the only one in this team. Mr. Holland has a number of really well thought out and detailed, not only columns that are coming out now, but I can see in the near future that will be glorious. And they haven't even been written yet. Mike, what's on tap for you on TGRWrestling.net?
That was very nice of you, Mark. Thank you. And I would say, don't set me up that way, because then people go and look at it and they're like, really? This is all I think of. No, I'm just kidding. I actually do have. It's always a labor of love getting the Raw and SmackDown recap out. It's basically for anybody who hasn't seen it, and go to TGR Wrestling, you can check it out. It's a brand split breakdown, which I think is pretty unique, and I can't take credit. John, who runs the site, actually, sort of gave me an idea to sort of do it, and I've really, really enjoyed it. And basically, all it is a rundown of the two shows. basically what was the good stuff, what was the bad stuff. You guys could probably guess which I spent a little more time on yet. All in all, it's basically meant to, in a tongue-in-cheek but also a serious wrestling fan way, kind of give you a recap for those of you that didn't get a chance to watch the show. And then we get into, basically who was the better of the show, and we keep a running tally just for our non-scientific purposes of my opinion of where we stand. So it's been a very fun thing to write. I should have this week, so I'm hoping to have it posted either tonight or tomorrow. I admit to dragging my feet a little this week because it's been rough work-wise, but it will definitely be up. And there was some good content this week. You had to look hard to get it. The way I started the column this week was, I felt like Raw was putting everybody in the locker room into a match of some kind, which was interesting. But I definitely encourage you to check it out. Leave your comments. I always love hearing from people what they liked and didn't like. So I appreciate that push, Marcus. And back at you. I always enjoy reading what you have as well. It's always well thought out and gives you something to consider. That you, as I say, you always put it in a little bit of a historical perspective, which I personally always enjoy.
See, look at that. Just one big happy family here, man.
Now I got to do this since you said that.
John, I guess you're okay.
Well, thank you. I am the one who keeps you here, so thank you.
Yes, you are. That's a lot of duct tape. I don't know where.
Home Depot. But since Mark said what he did, I have to.
Catchy.
Such a good theme song.
Isn't it, though? I think his time is inevitable that he'll be, just character alone, he'll be contesting for that title very, very shortly. Although, it is unfortunate, and we maybe didn't touch on it. The injury to Hideo Itami, if anybody hadn't seen it, he received, it was supposed to be a power slam right off the ropes.
Who hurt him?
And I don't know. It looked like it was a house show because it was a smaller arena, almost like a practice type gym. And they didn't tuck his head. So when they came around, so you think about those old $1 Million Man, the Randy Orton power slam. He snaps the guy over, only the head went straight into the mat.
Yeah.
Instead of being pulled in, like you would have clutched the guy's neck, so his head's tucked into your shoulder. And it just went, it's almost like doing a brain buster, only you're not supposed to do it like that. So,
right.
And it looked bad. And the problem is you trust the person you're in the ring with.
Who is he in the ring with?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Locate the video.
I think it was, I want to say, I believe it was Riddick Moss.
Who the hell is that?
And again, you have to look at the video. Well, I shouldn't say you have to look at the video because I agree with Mark. It's rough. But it actually, I don't think it has to do with his opponent. I think he just, unfortunately, like Mark was describing, and I think he did a good job of it because it's not an easy thing to describe. But I actually think it's on Itami. No offense to him. I think he botched it himself. And it's a tough break, literally, because, the guy is awesome. If you have seen him prior to NXT, and this is his second big injury, and I just worry that it's, Daniel Bryan territory, where now, are we ever going to get to see him achieve, his full promise in NXT? But yeah, the video is rough.
I think the shoulder injury was inevitable. I think the wear and tear on his body, that's what led to that. But this one seemed like it was avoidable. I think the shoulder injury was bound to happen. Just like I said, all the time he spent in Japan and the abuse his body's taken, it was just like hanging by a thread. One quick kick, something to the shoulder, and it was gonna go. And it's unfortunate, right? Because this was when North America is getting to see what everybody else had talked about with Kenta. So, will we ever get to see a Shinsuke Kenta feud or match? I don't know. And that's the unfortunate part. That's what I'm disappointed about. Because, was it going to be Kota Ibushi and Hideo Itami in the finals? I don't know. Right now, my pick is Authors of Pain. I think it's really hard to not with how they're being booked as these massive monsters. Because anything less than a win, I think diminishes where they're trying to be headed with these guys. But, it's unfortunate because there was something good that was on the verge of happening with him and Aries. It would have been a feud that he needed. And sadly, that's not going to happen.
So now where does Aries go from here? Do you think it'll turn into an Aries versus Roderick Strong feud?
Well, if they're being aligned together to be a tag team, I'm going to see how they play out in this tournament. I mean, does one just, is there tension and then eventually it boil to a head and somebody does turn on the other?
Like a Joe Balor last year.
The thing, Joe Balor managed to make it work all the way up until they won it. And they won it and they were all celebrated. It was right afterwards, right? They teased of something with him kept slapping the NXT title, but it didn't interfere in the middle of the tournament. It could interfere in the middle of the tournament here. And the face card seems so light, even more so. I wrote something about that a little while ago where, who are the faces that are going to run the place in NXT? Now Itali's down. They've churned, which I think was really well done. They churned Andrade Cien Almas. I loved that turn. I thought it was well done. I felt it was needed and good for him on doing it. But who else is there? Like, I'm not convinced by No Way Jose.
Now, what's to do with Sanity? Is Sanity a heel or?
Impression that it was a beatdown. Like they beat down on. So from all indications, apparently they beat down on Ty Dillinger while Bobby Roode kind of just left in there to fend for himself.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So it doesn't seem like a very face thing to do to beat down on.
The Glorious Tens are already.
Yeah, that was the teaser that was kind of circulating about them. So.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yeah,
well,
exactly. And I'm going with Bobby. Don't call me Rick Rude because it's essentially the same concept. And I loved it then, and I love it now. So Bobby Roode, 2 thumbs up because to your point, it's only a matter of time. That is entertainment beyond belief. Extremely well done. It just goes to show you what many of us knew he was capable of, but just amazing how some of these guys get into NXT and you're like, what? How did nobody else figure out that it's not really that hard to let a guy shine and really make a whole new group of fans, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's going to be interesting.
That you fear him. I mean, that's.
Well, he doesn't do anything like the arrogant heels, like, or he's not even trying to be deliberately cool or have a bit of a swagger like the NWO did. See, sometimes I can see Kevin Owens being guilty of that.
Yeah.
He tries to walk that line. I don't know if it really works as well. Anyways.
Well, Mark, it's funny that you say that because the other thing I've noticed is, of course, I love Owens and Jericho together, but I think it's tough on Owens because Jericho is so good at that anybody that is in his, immediate area kind of has to work that much harder to get out from under it because he does it so naturally that I think it comes across a little more forced when other people are, right near him while he's doing his stuff.
Yep. Did you guys touch upon the Page suspension?
We did not. I will afterwards, but I want to get your thoughts on something else first.
Sure. Well, I can eject for you.
James Ellsworth.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So my question is, why the big push on him?
There's nothing. There's nothing
nothing
good
there, right? He looks out of shape. He looks like the everyman. He may just be the Barry Horowitz of this generation. and I think does it bring some sort of comedic light because everything else is so well done? Well, it's different. There's nothing to like necessarily. I know you compared him to Zach Gallen, but Zach Gallen was really competing with one leg, and he still is. And
it feels like this entire thing is one giant rib on James Ellsworth. That's what this feels like. Like they're mocking the fans for being a fan of him.
Well, I thought that you wanted to talk about that, Mark, and I thought it was a good topic, and I have two quick thoughts. One is we talked about how the jobber thing was going to progress as soon as we heard they were going to be doing jobber squash matches and that kind of stuff, and so maybe as part of that, to your point about Horowitz, they're really trying to have you identify with certain talent that you see, enhancement talent, as it's called in the business. And my other thought, by the way, is I did not personally, speaking, just for me, I did not really enjoy whatever was going on with that, match on SmackDown. Like, I just thought it was the largest waste of time.
And you knew what was going to happen.
Absolutely. But I will say that I think, I brought this up before. AJ, speaking of guys that are owning the heel part of it, I mean, AJ is trying his heart out to be a heel when I think we know that he was doing a great job as a face. And this, I think, is part of that. I think that they're really setting this up that AJ is, the biggest jerk in the schoolyard, and he's going to pick on this poor, bumpkin. And it's just going to play into AJ's character more than I think it's going to play into Ellsworth's character. No offense to Ellsworth, he seems like a nice guy. I think he's going to end up being the next Goldberg, where they're going to trot him out every 5 years to go, I remember that guy getting his ass kicked. But really, it's just to make AJ Styles look like a total jerk, which I'm all for.
Yeah, and really, that when all things come and work out the way they are, we can't really see that Ellsworth is going to be the guy that is going to go anything else. It's comedic fodder. I mean, he's going to have his championship match because it was completely set up the way to be that, and it's more fun. It's not on a major event.
I'm horrified that they're going to do what they did with Santino and Umaga.
No,
I am horrified.
Because
listen, the truth is, both of you are going to be very excited, but not only do you get to see Goldberg, but don't forget, you're probably going to get Ellsworth at the Survivor Series. Don't worry, guys. It's coming.
Listen, I feel like it'd be something like where you remember when Jericho won the WWE Championship for like 5 minutes before Triple H beat the shit out of Earl Hebner?
Yeah.
I'm kind of scared it's going to be something like that. That Ellsworth will beat him, but not really beat him.
Yeah.
And then AJ is going to proceed to beat the holy shit out of him.
I would hope that they don't go there, but you can't put anything, you can't put anything past them. I will say that to tie it to the Page thing, you never have to worry about Ellsworth taking performance enhancement, or anything like that. So that I think you'll never see him get suspended for a substance.
Those steroids in that body.
Unless it's like chin concealer, or I guess the opposite of chin concealer, chin exaggerator is available at your local CNC.
Oh boy. So, Paige.
So, the word is that it wasn't a prescription medication that she was suspended for. It was a banned substance, but they didn't identify what the banned substance was.
Probably weed.
Well, her dad came out huffing and puffing and feeling that. Like,
her dad did, her brother did, her mother did.
Just that she's been a victim, and that the United States, like, he went off on the entire northern hemisphere, and that everybody is retributed. But at some point, you're not a child. You're 22, 23. You gotta
grow up at some point.
Your body, though.
That you got to grow up at some point. Okay, despite the fact that I want to do this until 2019 or whatever the case is, because I'm under contract. All right, well, I can't do it then. You sign a contract, just because you're in some relationship with a guy who's pissed off at the company doesn't mean you throw your entire career away, because in all likelihood, there isn't going to be a TNA for her to go to. You know.
Yeah, I think that's true, and there's also the small matter of the fact that Del Rio is going to get paid no matter where he goes. I don't know that that's true of Paige. And I should say the relationship stuff does not, appeal to me whatsoever. And I think all the speculation, it just, I get it, but it's not my thing. I will say that I think that their defense in terms of that there's a double standard. Many of the comments that she's come out with make it pretty clear that she does not want to be in the WWE. And so, when you take a shot across the bow like that, we know. I should say we know. It would not surprise me. I mean, we can read between the tea leaves and understand that there's certainly going to be a double standard. I mean, you look at a guy like Randy Orton. We've talked about that on the show before. It's nudge, nudge, wink, wink, sweep it under the rug because this guy's a star. So I'm not going to fault them for being upset. But you do, to Mark's point, you have to question the decision making. And at the end of the day, I mean, Paige had a pretty good gig going prior to this whole relationship issue, or
when you
call it.
You don't do what they want you to do, what they advise that especially somebody like Triple H, who's been involved in various workplace relationships in the WWE. You would think you would take his advice. Like, he's been there. The good, the bad, the ugly, especially with the shit with China. But
absolutely. Well, and I mean, like I said, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on with that. The whole Alberto Del Rio story is crazy with the knife thing and what happened. And it's kind of like which Mark, I guess, doesn't have to worry about, but you and I do, John. It's kind of like the presidential election at this point. So, I really not have any more news for a week or two about Alberto Del Rio and Paige.
God, I can't wait for a day we can go a week with no Alberto Del Rio and Paige news, and a week we can go with no Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton news.
Right, exactly.
Actually, talking about that.
I'm jealous of you're unspoiled because you don't have to watch that 24/7.
Do you see Russia and one of their supporters is telling Americans, vote for Trump or we'll bomb you?
Oh, my Lord. Just remember. Go ahead, Mark.
Sorry, before I leave you guys, I did want to leave you with one thing. I think we've seen the apocalypse. We have a reported apology coming from Bret the Hitman Hart's. And let me quote you in the statement.
What?
I'd like to take this. Hold on a second. I'd like to take this opportunity to formally apologize to Michael Hayes. He's very critical of the induction of Fabulous Freebirds. A while back, I made comments about the Freebirds not being as worthy of being in WWE Hall of Fame as others. It was unfair for me to dismiss their contributions to the industry, and certainly did great things in Texas with the Von Erich family. Michael Hayes always treated me with great respect, as did Terry Gordy, Ronnie Garvin, and Buddy Roberts. And I'm sorry if I disrespected any of them with my comments. This is bigger, though. Furthermore, I apologize to both Triple H and Seth Rollins.
Wow.
For any hurtful comments I made on my podcast. The reality of all this is I quit doing podcasts in general because they're, for the most part, an outlet for negativity, and have left me with a reputation of being angry and bitter. I'm not. I spoke candidly and openly, but it's no excuse for minimizing other wrestlers for their contributions. In saying all that, I still believe Jimmy Anvil Neidhart of the Hart Foundation, including Owen, Brian Pillman, Davey Boy Smith, the Dynamite Kid, Jimmy Hart, the Rougeau Brothers, the Killer Bees, the Demolition, Rick Rude, King Kong Bundy, and One Man Gang all deserve a place in the Hall of Fame. My apologies to all. Bret Hart, kiss.
Wow.
So there
Please don't bury Natalia.
Oh, is she gonna get buried?
Well, Mark, that's good, because I was going to say, I mean, I have said on Twitter a bunch of times that I really have been turned off with Bret Hart, and I agree with this point. I mean, I thought the Freebird stuff, like, I'm not a huge, not necessary, and he is coming across a little bit like Clint Eastwood in that movie where, you know, get off my lawn. You know,
such a good movie, Gran Torino.
Yeah, Gran Torino.
Such a good movie.
It absolutely, but like, I don't want Bret Hart to be in that. So I'm just gonna say, like, good for Bret, because let's face it, I mean, mistakes have been made in that relationship. We know that, and I think wrestling fans, like, we all like Bret Hart. How could you not? And we agree that he absolutely got, you know, screwed over by the WWE. But, you know, Vince buried the hatchet with it. It seemed like everything's fine. He shows up and does some of these events. And I really just felt like some of those comments were not necessary. So I think that's good. Big on him for doing that, whatever the motivation. And I give him credit. I think it's very hard to say stuff like that.
So basically, what I take away from that is that he needs work.
Way to be cynical, John.
I mean, as random as it is, are we going to be seeing Bret Hart as like a guest general manager or something? How about that? Everybody thinks Stephanie McMahon and Mick Foley are a weird couple. Stephanie fires Mick Foley, and her new general manager is Bret Hart.
Good Lord.
Only for Vince to fire Stephanie as the commissioner and appoint Shawn Michaels.
Now that would be great. I love that.
The legal counsel is Sonny.
So you got to get her out of rehab.
You got to get her out of jail first.
Well, true, or on Skype. But I would just say to you on that point, you know, this is like another example. Let's face it. I mean, in Bret's apology, you're talking about one of the main bookers for the company. You're talking about, you know, one of the people with the most authority in the company, and you're talking about one of the wrestlers that they have, you know, at the top of their list. So again, like, if I had people working for that company, I probably would be cautious of what I said. You know, this falls under the category, does anybody believe that, love you, Steve Austin, but does anybody believe that Steve Austin is saying the same kind of stuff on his WWE licensed podcast that he is when he's not on there? Well, of course, the answer is no, because Steve knows that, you know, he wants to get that business and keep that relationship open. It doesn't make sense to bite the hand that feeds you. So I don't think you're wrong, John. I mean, you know, I think there's absolutely some truth to that statement, but I will say if they ever do anything again with Michaels and Bret Hart, I would pretty much probably just spontaneously combust out of joy.
Why? Because it would be as awkward as that hug?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And they would get into all the weird stuff like the Jesus stuff and all that they try to bring into those storylines that make no sense, and it's just uncomfortable for everyone. That's the best kind of TV, uncomfortable.
Also known as Kim Kardashian's life right now. Is anybody else taking like giant satisfaction to be like, oh, she might go to jail? The legal system does work.
I was disturbed that apparently there's I guess it shouldn't surprise me, but there's a Halloween costume that involves her getting robbed.
Yes.
There are certain things that make me laugh, and then I think about it and I say, this should not be funny to me. But
It's absolutely hilarious. Oh, man.
Alrighty, guys.
You leaving?
Mr. Madison, have a good evening.
You guys too.
Take it easy.
To the shop. Too, man. You guys, we'll talk to you soon.
So,
Take care.
on that note, guys, we are going to hit a quick commercial break. When we come back, we will be joined by Evan Ginzburg of Legends TV. So, you guys aren't going to want to go anywhere. I'm going to make Mike get on the hot seat.
Have I ever been off?
A little bit. Unless you want me to be the one to ask Evan. About Miz.
Let's see how his mood is, and we'll go from there.
Fair enough. So, guys, this is Main Event Madness Radio, where the madness is and always is unleashed. And when we come back, Evan Ginzburg of Ginzburg's Gab will be here with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after these words.
All right, so you want to know what's going on with the show, and you want to know who our next guest is going to be. Well, the easiest place to do that is Facebook. Facebook.com/Main Event Madness is the official Facebook page for Main Event Madness Radio. Come check us out and give us a like and help spread the word and make this a movement. Facebook.com/Main Event Madness. Looking for wrestling news, missed a live event, and want the best results? Well, look no further. Wrestling-news.net is the place to go for all of the pro wrestling news and results your heart desires, with coverage of the WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, Ring of Honor, Global Force Wrestling, Independence, and more. Also, is your favorite promotion overseas? No problem either. Wayne Daly has results and news for promotions all over the world. Check them out today, wrestling-news.net. Visit pwpnation.com for exclusive wrestling articles you won't find anywhere else. Since 2012, Pro Wrestling Powerhouse has produced original content from a dedicated team of wrestling analysts and fans from across the globe. pwpnation.com has now expanded into the world of wrestling news, podcasts, videos, and so much more. Make sure to visit pwpnation.com today. From the associate producer of The Wrestler, and in the tradition of Joe Franklin and Ed Sullivan variety talk show, Evan Ginzburg's Legends TV features an eclectic mix of legendary million-selling musicians, indie artists deserving greater exposure, and colorful pro wrestling. Co-hosted by Steve Ludwig of Classic Pop Culture Radio, the show airs live every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern at MadhouseTV.com and LegendsTVNYC.com. Martha Wash, Crown Heights Affair, Lanny Popo, Nicole Bass, and other legends have joined us. You missed the birth of your mother and father. Don't you dare miss Evan Ginzburg's Legends TV. Coming soon, a website with news, a website with columns, a website with madness. MainEventMadness.com is returning soon with a new look, a new attitude, and we're raising the game to a whole new level. Don't miss new columns, our entire Main Event Madness archive featuring legendary guests, wrestling news, a chat you can use with us during the show, a store, and more. Don't miss the new MainEventMadness.com coming soon. From the ashes of an old website comes a fresh new face from Main Event Madness. MEM Network is here. Check out all of your favorite episodes of Main Event Madness, Work in Progress, Wrestling's Rope Break, and Evan Ginzburg's Legends TV. More shows to be announced in the future, but check out MEMnetwork.wix.com/home, where the madness runs wild.
Greg DeMarco presents Pro Wrestling Biz, the internet's premier host of analysis, opinion, and wrestling columns. Whether it's covering World Wrestling Entertainment, Lucha Underground, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, or any other independent wrestling promotion, Pro Wrestling Biz has you covered. With daily news, show reviews, covering pay-per-views or iPay-per-views, Pro Wrestling Biz will offer viewers an array of opinions from some of the most knowledgeable wrestling writers on the internet.
I get faded, I get let loose sometimes. I get wasted, they say I'm gonna lose my mind. Spend all day long, the same old story, my demons down right across the road. I get faded, and I don't give a fuck if you call me a rebel.
All right, guys, we're back. Main Event Madness Radio, streaming live, wrestling-news.net, blogtalkradio.com. We thank you guys for tuning in tonight, or on demand whenever you guys do, iTunes, and of course the other websites I just mentioned. Waiting on Evan Ginzburg. But if you guys like the song that you guys just heard, that's Rebel from the band Shallow Side. You guys can find them on social media, Twitter, Facebook, at Shallow Side Band. You guys check the music out on iTunes and Spotify. And if you guys do like the music, hit up your local radio station and get the music on there and help spread the word about Shallow Side. Great song, great band. And a thank you to them once again for allowing us to use Rebel as the theme song for this very podcast. So I want to get Evan's thoughts on SmackDown versus Raw, if he even cares. Meanwhile, so the Hardys made an interesting request. I don't know if you saw this.
I did not.
The Hardys, Matt Hardy in particular, put out a tweet yesterday and said he was talking to somebody and they questioned him about the New Day. Sorry about that. And he said if Meek Man will allow the Day of New. So hold on, let me get the tweet up here. I don't know. Let's see. Well, first of all, did you see that he wants to buy TNA?
I did see that, yes.
It's literally not any worse than any other options.
That's right, true.
So he said, I'm not quite sure what the conversation was about. Let's see if I can find out. He had a grand, and I've had a grand vision, an open invitational tag team, #apocalyptico match at total non-stop deletion. Every tag team in history is welcome. Even the WWE World Tag Team Champions, the New Day.
Sure.
To which he invited, if Meek Man allows the Day of New to appear at Total Nonstop Deletions Apocalypto, I'll make an appearance on Meek Man's show.
Don't hold your breath.
That'd be pretty awesome, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Could you imagine the current reigning WWE Tag Team Champions, the New Day, appearing on another promotions TV show?
No.
That'd be awesome.
And that's why I don't picture that ever happening.
But he might do it. Imagine broken Matt Hardy in the Royal Rumble.
Listen, I am quite sure that we're in agreement that, should things go the way we would expect them to go, there's zero chance that, you don't see both Hardys back in the WWE before all is said and done. So that, the real question is going to be, and what I would think would get that gimmick to ultimate proportion is, will Matt's, batshit crazy routine work in the WWE where everything is overperformed and over-processed and everything else? So, and listen, it very well could, but I have my doubts. It feels like it's good where it's at. And and kind of like you were saying, John, like I would worry a little that if it translated over, it wouldn't be as fun anymore.
I imagine if he does come back to WWE, creative control over his character would not necessarily his booking, but his character would probably, I would imagine, have to be pretty up there.
You're probably right. And I mean, listen, it could. I've gone on record before, and I know I've given you some examples of this, and I think, the most obvious one, not to trot it out again, but, War Games would be an example. I think that, WWE just has that stigma, which is earned, that if it wasn't their idea, they'll go along with it. It'll sell, but they're not going to fully get behind it, and Goldberg would be another example, actually, while we're, talking about that. So he could be the one to break it, but, I just think it's one of those things where Vince is going to be like, oh, the kids like watching Matt Hardy. Yeah, he has no idea what is going on. And that's kind of what makes it so fun. But to me, it is a little bit of an acquired taste, and I think part of the reason why it's working so well is because it's totally different from what WWE is doing. Much like ECW had that same, all of a sudden it wasn't as cool anymore when WWE said, okay, we're now going to present ECW, and I promptly threw up all over myself.
Was that before or after they replaced Joey Styles with Mike Adamle?
Why would you even say that to me? I mean, that is like tantamount to challenging me to a duel, making me remember Mike Adamle. But it was a good tie-in because remember, Jeff Harvey, Mike Adamle. Oh,
The Taz.
I don't even have the words. And it was you brought this up, I think, a couple weeks ago. I should have thought of it then. That was such another McMahon dick move just to piss off people that like DCW. And so, great job, Vince. Mission achieved.
Oh, that's sorry, I'm gonna send this to you. I just found like 4 different flavored like parody flavors of Oreos. He got to pretty much kill WCW in the Alliance. And yeah, there's some ECW. But I think the only reason he didn't kill WCW as a 4th brand is because he couldn't get enough talent.
Yeah, well, I think that's true. I mean, actually, this would probably be a topic for another show, but, if you look at the guys when he acquired WCW, if you look at the guys that kind of came away unscathed from that, other than, there's very few. I mean, Booker T would be an example of a guy that, I think did pretty well, if not better, coming over. So it was a good thing for him. But you look at what he did with DDP, who was, a big deal for them at the time. The Goldberg thing was very forced when that went down. Even Sting, which I don't think is totally Vince's fault, except that it took 100 years because he didn't think, he wasn't responsible for Sting. So it's ugly. I mean, and again, listen, I get it. He wins. I continue to put, money into his pocket, as many of us do, by, go patronizing the shows and stuff. So I guess, it's silly me to be critical, but that is always something that has bothered me about him personally and the way that he does business, because I think it is his way. And I think it's just a holdover from that territorial, you have to put everybody. The misconception with the territories is, they all work together. It behooves all of them to work together. So I'm not going to say they didn't have rivalries. I'm not going to say that there probably weren't some guys trying to put guys out of business. And listen, ultimately, if you do a better job, you deserve to get the mean streak that he has when it comes to that competition is where I really just have a problem. Because I don't like when you're the number one and you do stuff just out of spite. It just doesn't sit well with me in general. So, yeah, that was ugly, man. That Adamle thing, he achieved his objective because I was mad forever over that one.
Just how bad the announce teams were. So, I mean, you had Mike Adamle and Josh Matthews, or Mike Adamle and Matt Stryker. Josh Matthews and Matt Stryker, Todd Grisham and Matt Stryker. Jesus Christ.
Cell phone pictures and Matt Stryker. Oh, wait, no, that wasn't an announced team, sorry.
Oh, that one's a little unnerving.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm just saying. But, I mean, and then, of course, he made Adamle GM with a Raw. It's just something it's too funny for words. All I can say is if you have no idea, if you've tuned into Main Event Madness and you're disappointed to hear me, blabbling on instead of Evan, which I understand.
I don't know what's going on with this. He hasn't.
But go to YouTube and look up Mike Adamle at WWE and experience 10 to 20 minutes of hilarity. And then say to yourself, oh, dear God, this actually happened.
Oh, the Adamle. So, we touched a little bit on the SmackDown versus Raw teams.
We did.
Is there one more than the other you're looking forward to? Because I think the tag team one's going to be a cluster.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I think the male tag team match, I think that's what it is. I think that's going to be very underwhelming. I don't know. I don't know exactly how I feel about this, but let's see. Just type in Mike Adamley on YouTube.
I already said that. I just told people to do it. And I'm not doing it. I don't want to relive that.
I'm about to.
I would rather. How about I say this to you, John? I would rather watch Mike Adamley back on WWE programming than have Dixie Carter as my boss.
Woo!
Okay, there you go.
Woo! All right, let's see if this one wants to work because there's for some reason it's Chrome. I've since learned the problem with the audio was Chrome. I gotta find this because my favorite freaking Mike Adamley clip is the one at Extreme Rules.
It's not when he said Jamaican me crazy.
No, it's what there it is. Let's see if no, I don't think this is it. Oh my god. I can't find it. It's the one where Mike Adamley's like it's the middle of the pay-per-view and Mike Adamley comes out of the bathroom. Like,
yeah.
He's like, what the hell are you doing back here? He's like, well, we only had one match to call.
Vince loves his toilet humor.
Oh my god.
Now, John, as you know, very rarely do I question your. You're always kind enough to provide us. Or I shouldn't say always. Generally kind enough to provide us with a rundown of what we can expect from the show, which I appreciate. But you have overlooked huge wrestling news, and I'm highly disappointed in you.
I did?
Yes. There's nowhere on this run sheet. Do you not know that on SmackDown, Kane disappeared?
You know, I thought about talking about that.
Kane disappeared, John. He has not been seen. Well, okay. People did see him go up the ramp after.
I was going to say, I love that they gave him a staggering 10 seconds to get under from the ring and run.
That is tough.
It's like, you could have given him 30 seconds. No, 10 seconds. Run.
Yeah, they were like, screw you, buddy. So Kane disappeared. And, that's big news. I mean, come on. I mean, it would have been big news, I'm sure, like 15 years ago when it hadn't happened. But
or before the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth time it's happened.
Are you surprised, by the way, on a related note to that? Are you continuing the Wyatt Orton feud? Because I really did not see that continuing after No Mercy. I just assumed they were going to move, Orton over, as I think I mentioned last time, as competition to AJ, and instead they're just still running with Ambrose and Styles and keeping that. I was a little bit surprised. I didn't really see that coming.
I didn't really either, but hey, especially since Dean's supposed to leave.
Yeah.
He's supposed to go. I guess he's filming a movie.
He's doing another movie.
Yeah, I don't know why WWE would take away Dean Ambrose right now when they don't have Cena, but this is why they're in the position they are versus the position I've been.
True.
So, well, on this note, do you have any last thoughts?
Not really. I would just say again, if you're concerned about Kane's disappearance, make sure that you send your emails and social media things to WWE, to Titan Tower, because it's very disturbing that Kate has disappeared, and I think it's quite upsetting. So, that would be part of. And I would also say, with all seriousness, as you well know, John, I hope it looks like the cards are shaping up to be pretty good. We did not talk about this hugely, but I would also say, because you did mention it in the lead, I am really, really happy. And I'm sure it won't last because it never does. But I am really happy that Sasha Banks and Charlotte are going to wrestle.
Yes, I did mean to talk about that. Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
finally, a women's Hell in a Cell match.
Absolutely. And the two right to bed, like we were talking about with The Miz and Dolph, I think Sasha and Charlotte deserve a lot of credit for what's happened with that division through mismanagement. I mean, it's not like they've gotten a lot of help. As you could have seen with Raw this week and that bizarro angle that they opened up with so we could watch Roman Reigns, fight with Rusev for the 87,000th time. But despite all that, those two ladies have busted their collective butts. And I cannot wait. I think it's such a great moment. But even more than the historical significance of that, it's going to be a great match because they've done that a lot. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I like that, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you might know this, I think the poster is out. And the poster is actually featuring that match, which I think is freaking awesome.
Yeah, it's about time that they're really getting this kind of respect that they deserve, and it kind of scared me when Mick Foley came out. Well, they don't, you're not always going to get what you want. I'm like, you son of a bitch. I'm like, you son of a bitch. Don't you even do it. But, we're getting what we want. Charlotte, Sasha, Hell in a Cell. Who's to say next year we won't get a women's Money in the Bank ladder match?
Absolutely. I agree, and I think, like you said, it's a good time to be a wrestling fan. The Mickey James thing is exciting, as you mentioned. I mean, like we talked about the talent depth, that goes for the women as well. And I'm a fan of women's wrestling. I'm a fan of all wrestling that's good. And these talents deserve to be recognized as more than just the way that women's wrestling has been presented by the WWE largely. So I hope that they truly are getting behind this. I always have to have my doubts, but I love that they're on the poster, and I think that match is going to be great. And I, for one, that's one that I'm really looking forward to, like I said, for multiple reasons. So I echo your sentiments that I think it's a great time to be a wrestling fan. And let's hope that it's the start of, a real revolution for women's wrestling, at least as it relates to WWE, instead of this fake one that they're trying on social media. Let's really get them out there and show what they can do. And, I'm very, very excited. I have high, I'm really looking forward to it. So I would just, kind of close with that. I think that's really, really good news.
Absolutely. And, it wasn't by design, but look at that. We gave women the last slot of the show.
Yeah.
I tried. But on that note, for Mark, for Mike, and for the lack of Evan Ginzburg, I'm John Curry at John MEM Radio at the Mark at John MEM Radio at the Mark Madison at Darman Rockwell at Evan_Ginsburg. Brandon Lasher, our other co-host, is at WWE BNRL. We got to get him on here one of these days. Wrestling-news.net, your home for the best in wrestling news, results, and the likes. Check them out. And blogtalkradio.com/main event madness. And yeah. Until next week, guys, be good, be safe, have a great rest of your week, great weekend. I'm going to try to get something up on Facebook.
That a guy.
Huh?
I said that a guy. Yeah.
I'm gonna try to peak my creative juices and maybe get my second column of the year.
Very nice.
We'll see. I don't know. But one thing I do want to Facebook.com/Main Event Madness. I want to get people's thoughts, and I'm going to make a post on it either today or tomorrow. What do you guys think, and what do you think, really quick, of a Periscope pregame show? So we'll see. We'll see if we do that. Maybe NXT, maybe Survivor Series. Mark and I have talked about it a little bit. So that's one idea in the pipeline. We may have some interviews coming. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, guys, have a great night. And we're out.
My mama tell it I've been gone too long. To hear them talk about me, say I'm doing wrong. But I've been on my own since 15. When the death in jail before me. Drag my name through the mud and I still come out clean. I get faded, I get let loose sometimes. I get wasted. They say I'm gonna lose my mind. Spend all day long, the same old song. Beat my demons down by the crossroads. I get faded, and I don't give a fuck if you call me a rebel. Call me a rebel. With cocaine, this ain't my first rodeo. I sit down with whiskey, dressed in black from head to toe. No one can stand against me, 'cause we all stand here guilty. Heaven and hilltops, see the man without a soul. I get faded, I get let loose sometimes. I get wasted. They say I'm gonna lose my mind. Spend all day long, the same old song. Beat my demons down by the crossroads. I get faded, and I don't give a fuck if you call me a rebel. Yeah, call me a rebel, yeah.
Welcome to Staples.
Staples guy, I've resolved to save my office money in 2017.
Well, during Staples' January printing event, you save big when you buy one HP ink and get the second 40% off.
Oh, that kind of savings will impress the boss. Maybe this year he'll stop calling me new guy Nick.
Well, there are worse nicknames.
I've worked there 6 years, and my name's Doug.
Resolve to save during Staples' January printing event. Buy one HP ink and get the second 40% off. Staples, make more happen.
Ends 1/14/17. See store staples.com for details. Restrictions may apply.
Welcome to Staples.
Staples guy, I've resolved to save my office money in 2017.
Well, during Staples' January printing event, you save big when you buy one HP ink and get the second 40% off.
Oh, that kind of savings will impress the boss. Maybe this year he'll stop calling me new guy Nick.
Well, there are worse nicknames.
I've worked there 6 years, and my name's Doug.
Resolve to save during Staples' January printing event. Buy one HP ink and get the second 40% off. Staples, make more happen.
Ends 1/14/17. See store staples.com for details. Restrictions may apply.